reading my devotional. I'm going to try to get through this without just being a complete obliterated mess. God is so good. And the whole study was just about the goodness of God and how good He is. And I was driving in the car right here, and I was taken back to the spring of 2017. I had been married just 1 year with Nat, and we had a 6-month-old beautiful daughter, Arzie, and we were living in Georgia at the time, and life was good. We were doing missions, and everything was perfect. And one day, out of nowhere, Nat went into full-blown renal kidney failure, and he was rushed to the emergency room. And basically, it was a nightmare for an entire year. He was hospitalized 6 times that year. He was put in ICU a few times. His blood pressure would get so high, it would cause blindness. And there were many times that 1.5 to 2 years that I thought like he was gonna die. It was so scary, and I didn't work, and I had a baby, and I didn't know what I was gonna do. Sometimes I would just be so paralyzed with fear. But God was with us in that season over and over and over again, and He blessed us in that season. In 2020, we had about a whole year where Matt was doing good. He got new dialysis plan, and our life seemed to get a little bit more stable. He wasn't having to go in the hospital so much, and our life just kind of like felt easy. But I didn't ever feel easy. We were talking about maybe buying a house, plans for the future, and I would shy away. I would say, let's rent. I don't want to buy a house. We talked about having a family, and the thought of having a family scared me. I couldn't commit to that. And I never shared that with Matt, and I didn't share that with a soul. And there was one day at church, this beautiful older woman came to me out of nowhere at the end of worship, just like this. And she approached me, and she looked me in the eye, and she said, "You're afraid that Matt's gonna die. And you're paralyzed in fear, and you're afraid to do anything with your life." I was so shook by that because I had never shared that. Only God knew that deepest, deepest, deepest intimate place in my heart that I was so paralyzed with fear of the future, and I never shared that. And in that moment, I was released, and that spirit of fear of death was broken off of me in an instant. It was a miracle. It was a miracle. I felt seen by the Lord. I felt so seen. I felt this big to the Lord that He saw me in the middle of that. I never shared that with a soul. That year we bought a house. We had a baby. And I lived in freedom, no longer paralyzed of the unknown future. And I say this because, one, the prophetic is beautiful. I don't care what you've heard, it's a lie from the enemy, it's beautiful. The prophetic is just the mouthpiece of the Lord working through believers. That's it, it's not spooky, it changed my life, and I'll never be convinced otherwise. And this is a house that operates in the prophetic, and there's people here that loves it and believes in it, and I'm one of them. And the second thing is if you're battling with fear of the future, if you've had a diagnosis that's paralyzing you, if you had a disappointment where your business went bankrupt and you're afraid to move a future, if your husband has been unfaithful, or if you're struggling in your marriage and you're afraid to move forward, there's people here that have a prophetic word for you that will change the trajectory of your entire life, and you are free here to do that.